Okay, so this is test 81 game 4. This is a grouping game. It says a company is sending its 4 product managers, F, G, H, and I, to visit 3 cities, M, S, and T. Each manager will visit at least one of the cities, so we have to use at least one of these. And each city will be visited by exactly 2 managers, so we can put in our 2 spots. Okay, and that's really all that they give us so far. So let's go into our rules. Rule number 1 says I must visit exactly 2 of the cities. So I'm going to add an extra I over here. And given that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 6 that we have to have, I'm actually going to block this off because it's going to tell me that I can't have a third I. That final variable is going to have to be a duplicate of either F, G, or H. So I'm just working with the 2 I's right now. Okay, next it says F and H cannot visit the same city as each other. So we can't have F and H together. Not a super great start to the game. So I'm going to move on and see what else I have, and I'll come back to that rule. Next rule says if M is visited by G, then T must be visited by H. So if we have M, G, then T has to have H. I could start with this rule. I'm not too thrilled about it because I'm having repeat variables, so I don't know for sure if G is going to be an M or not. And even if I put G and M, we have to think about our duplicate variables. So we're not going to start with that one. We're going to move on to our last rule, which will kind of give us an idea of where to go. Our last rule says G cannot visit S. So I can know right away that G is not going to go in S. That gives me a good starting point. Because if G can't go in S, the only 2 places that G can go in is M and T. And given that G could be a duplicate variable, we could come up with at least 3 different possibilities. We can have maximum number of G's being 1 and maximum number of G's being 2. So focusing on when we just have G once, we could have G and M or T. So we're going to make that happen. I'm going to put G and M, and I'm going to cross out G and T over here because this is going to represent just when G is by itself. So G can't go in S. We can have G and T. G can't go in M. So I've eliminated the possibility of me going, okay, well, I'm going to put G and M then right here, G and S then right here, and make it my duplicate variable. I've restricted myself to only having G be the solo variable in those 2 worlds. Now, G could be our duplicate variable. So when G is our duplicate variable, there's only 1 spot that it could go in, and that's M and T. So we know that G could go in M and T as our duplicate variable, and that's gonna that will make us so we know that we can only have F, H, and 2 I's in that world right there. I'm actually gonna write that to the side. This is what I'm working with in this world. I'm working with those 4 variables. So now that I've placed where G can go, I'm going to look back at that 3rd rule because that 3rd rule talked about G being an M, and I have 2 worlds where that's happening. In world 1, when G is an M, we know that T must be visited by H, so we know that H is going to have to go there. World 3, I'm having that happen down here as well. When G is an M, we know that T has to be with H, so we're going to put that there. Okay. And nothing happens over here because G can't go in M because I've restricted myself to that. So we can actually completely eliminate rule 3. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay. So let's see what else we can do. Looking at my 2nd rule, if I know that F can't go with H, I'm going to look and see where I have H happening right now. So H is happening in T. I know that F can't go there. And if I look at the variables and I count, I have 4 variables to work with. H is gone because I've placed that there. F's gone because G is there, or sorry, H is there. And I've restricted myself to not having G there, which means I is the only variable that can go there because of math. Math says that I is the only one that can really go there. So we know that we can place I there. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to move down here. H is by itself H is with G, so I don't have to worry about violating this rule because we also know that H can't be our duplicate variable. G is our duplicate variable, so I don't have to worry about having like 2 H's and having to worry about where F is going to go. Now I can do something and fill out this world though. Common sense dictates that if exactly 2 people are going to visit the cities, it can't be the same person because then it's not 2 people. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically what I'm trying to say is I can't have 2 I's and S. That's not 2 different people. So I have to have my I's split up, which forces them to go in M and S, which forces my remaining spot to be F. So this is my 3rd world, and this is a valid world. Okay. Going into, I'm gonna stay and focus on world number 1 because it's the most filled out world so far, and I can probably finish this world. So we don't have our duplicate variable, our next variable, but we do have I, and we know that we have to have at least 2 I's. So we have one of our I's placed. If we have to have, I think I said at least 2, we can only have 2. We can only have 2, that gives us 2 places where I can go in, M or S. So I'm going to make that happen. So I'm going to have one where I is an S and where I is an M. All right. Now, let's see what we can do. So in our first world, looking at my 4 variables, I've placed all my I's. I can't have G. That only leaves me with F and H to be an S because of math. I can't have F and H together, and I can't have them both be in the same group. Like I can't have 2 F's and I can't have 2 H's. So I can actually eliminate this world because that doesn't work out. I have to have at least an I down here. Looking at this one, we can diagram this a couple ways. We know that we have to have F. F is either going to go in S or M, and our duplicate variable is going to be F or H because we can't have 2 G's and we can't have a G here, and we've used up all of our I's. So let's just expand this out just so we can see it. We know that we have to fill in our F, and our F has 2 places that it can go in, either M or S. And then hopefully this makes a little more sense than just my abstract talking. I can't have 2 G's here, so that eliminates one of my variables. I've already taken care of my I's, that eliminates another one. I'm left with F and H, and I don't have any other duplicate variables, so my duplicate variable is either going to be F or H right here, and that's not going to violate any of my other rules. Same goes for here. I have 4 variables that I'm working with. I is already placed in that group. I can't have G and S, which leaves F and H, and that's not going to violate any of my other rules. So my duplicate variable is going to be F or H. Okay. Oh boy. This one. Okay, so we don't know what's going on with this world. We have a lot of possibilities. We're going to ask ourselves, what's the most restrictive thing that we have right now? My opinion, it's the I's. We can only have 2 I's. There's exactly 2 I's. So looking at my spaces, there are about 3 spots that I could go in. I could either go in M and S, S and T, or M and T. So I'm going to make that happen. So I'm going to have a world where I is in M and S, I is in S and T, and I is in M and T. Okay, so I've taken care of my I's. Now I'm going to look at what else I have to place, which is F and H, and that does some things. So down here, automatically, I can kind of fill this one out. We've placed all of our I's. We can't have any more G's because we've made it so we can't have any more G's. This is a world where we have one G in T, so G's out of the answer. We have F and H to work with, and they can't be together, which isn't a problem because we're having one spot in each group. And our duplicate variable is going to be either F or H. So any order that I put this in, it really doesn't matter because it's not going to violate any of our other rules. Yeah, just double checking. So I'm going to actually write this out. I'm going to have either F or H, and then our remaining variable being F or H. So that's a valid world. Looking at this world can't happen. The reason why it can't happen is, let's say we put F here, which is one of the variables that we have to place. Looking at our variables that we have, we've eliminated I because we've put our 2 I's. We have F in place, and we can't have G there. That leaves us with H. And so we actually have to have some other variable aside from F and H in S. And given that G is in S, we actually have to have I in S. So we can't do this world. That's a no-go. Going up here, I think the same thing happens again. Because let's pick F, that's one of the variables that we have to place. If I put F and M, looking at our variables again, we've already dealt with I's. We can't put G there because we've restricted it to where we can't put G. And we have F there. So the only other remaining variable would be H, and that violates our second rule. So that one is eliminated. So this game is only possible in 1, 2, 3, 4-ish worlds. I've made it so it is 4 worlds, but we have more possibilities. So these are the diagrams that we can look at when we're doing our questions. So let's go into our questions. First question is a list question. So I'm going to go through my rules and eliminate the ones that are violating them. I must visit exactly 2 of the cities. That automatically eliminates A. Okay. F and H cannot visit the same city as each other. That eliminates E. If M is visited by G, that's happening in C and D, then T must be visited by H, that eliminates D. G cannot visit S, that eliminates B, so our answer is C. Yeah. And let's check our diagram and see if we have that, and we do. G, H, F, I, H, I, that's happening in world 5. Okay. Next one says, which one of the following, if true, completely determines the assignments of the managers to the cities? When we're looking for a completely determined, ask yourself when you find a group, do you know exactly where this letter is going to be? And that's going to be the correct answers if you do know exactly where all the letters are going to be. So let's look at A. F is visits exactly 2 of the cities. I don't know because that can actually happen here, here, and here. And so what I'm trying to say is if I have F visit 2 cities, especially in this world, it's easy to see. I don't know exactly what 2 cities those 2 Fs are going to go in. So I don't know exactly where all my variables are going to go. Next one says G visits exactly 2 of the cities. That's going to be our answer because that's happening in 3, and I know exactly what my duplicate variable is, and I know exactly where all of my variables are going to go. There's no other possible world where I have 2 G's. So that's my answer. H visits exactly 2 of the cities. Again, very similar to F. If I have H happening here twice, I don't know exactly what city those double H's are going in. F and G visit Tokyo. That actually, yeah. If I put F and G here, I don't know these 2 spots. G and H visit Tokyo, same thing. If I swapped it out with H, I don't know these 2 spots. So, sorry, my answer is B. 19, which one of the following must be true? So we're looking at all of our diagrams. Does it have to be true that F visits S? Nope, does not have to be true. We could have H and I. G visits Tokyo. Does not have to be true. We could have H and I. H visits Tokyo. Does not have to be true. We could have G and F here. I visit Sydney. We actually talked about that earlier. We do have to have that so we can break up our F and H, but that is happening in all of our worlds. I is in Sydney in every single one of our worlds. I visits Tokyo. Does not have to be true. We could have G and H over here. So our answer is D. Which one of the following could be true? So this just has to happen once. So long as we find it one time, that's our answer. F and I visit M. That could happen. We could have F and I over here. So that's our answer. Looking at B, G and I visit Tokyo. That can't happen. I visits M and Tokyo. That can't happen. We've actually figured that out over here. We can't have I visit M and Tokyo. F visits all 3 of the cities. We can't have that happen regardless because then where would we put H? H visits all 3 of the cities. Again, we can't have that happen because then where would we put F? And it's not happening in any of my worlds anyways. So my answer is A. If one of the cities is visited by both if one of the cities is visited both by G and H, so I'm going to look to see where that happens before I move on. That could happen here. We could have G and H, and that can happen here. We could have G and H. Then which one of the following must be true? Okay. I'm going to go through the answer choices. F visits M. That does not have to be true. F visits S. Doesn't have to be true. I could have HF here. G visits M. Does not have to be true because my other variable is F or H for this one. H visits T. That has to be true. That's happening in both my worlds. I visits Tokyo. Does not have to be true. I could have G and H. So my correct answer choice is D. Next one, if I visits Tokyo, I'm going to pause and figure out where that's happening. It's happening in 4 and 5. Which one of the following could be true? F and G visits M. That could be true right here. Could also be true there, but it's happening. That's all I care about. So that's my correct answer choice. G and I visit M. Doesn't happen in either of those worlds, so no. H and I visit M. Nope. I is not in M at all. F visits M and T. Nope. H and I are in T in both of those worlds. What? Oh, sorry. H visits M and S. Nope. G is going to have to visit, or we could have a G and F here, so we don't have to have H visiting M and, or sorry, we're doing a could be true. Regardless, we can't have H happening in M. So what could be true is F and G, which is A. All right, last question is a substitute question. Given where you are right now, pick an answer choice, move on. I do not want you to be doing substitute questions at this point. They are a time sucker. They can take about 5 minutes and it's just worth 1 point. So you can actually spend those 5 minutes diagramming another question and getting 6 points from that diagram. So for substitute questions, I just want you to pick an answer and move on. Once your accuracy starts getting to where you only miss substitute questions, then we can talk about substitute questions. But your time is better spent trying to get the low-hanging fruit rather than trying to achieve every single question that you come across. So substitute questions, we're just going to pick an answer choice and move on. That was this game. There's no other questions, but if you have any other questions about this game, let me know and I'd be happy to answer them. So thanks.